And then also say welcome again to the September meeting, joint meeting of the Province 4 and Province 5 Christian Care Network, September something, September 6th, thank you. September 6th, Jane shows me her fingers, I like it, 2021, and we are thrilled to be here today. Thank you.
Yeah. And let's have a little conversation whilst we're just still waiting for a few maybe to join in. And that is there anyone here who has never been in one of these meetings where you have heard everyone else introduce themselves? In other words, you're new or new enough. And Colin, you would be one of those, actually. I think about it. Because sometimes we do introductions and sometimes we don't. And sometimes we'd say, oh, if you're new and not been here before, introduce, or we'll introduce everybody. So and it kind of depends on the agendas. We have a smaller group, of course, being on a holiday today. And so I was kind of quizzing to see if there's anyone who's actually not been in one of these before. If
I have not been in one. This is Jen Romanizat Camp.
Okay.
And so, Jerry, for what it's worth, I see a couple faces that I don't recognize. Maybe it's just my failing memory, but I'd love to do a little bit of introduction.
Yeah, I think we can do some introductions.
I'm going to use you as my mirror too. So
You look great. You look great.
Thanks.
Righto. So I'll read us a opening little piece of liturgy and prayer. And then here's what I'll explain how I want us to introduce ourselves, and we'll go from there. So we can begin. I just don't understand where that goes. It's here. There we are. Okay. So there's some supplemental materials from the Episcopal Church that includes a large section on care for creation. In its additional prayers, its additional propers, and so on, a lot of which could be used in the season of creation if you have access to influencing how those might show up in your worship services during September and into October. But I just want to open us with one of them. And so the Lord be with you.
And also with you.
Also with you.
Let's pray together. Holy God, your mercy is over all your works, and in the web of life, each creature has its role and place. We praise you for ocelot and owl, cactus and kelp, lichen and whale. We honor you for whirlwind and lava, tide and topsoil, cliff and marsh. Give us hearts and minds eager to care for your planet, humility to recognize all creatures as your beloved ones, justice to share the resources of the earth with all its inhabitants, and love not limited by our ignorance. This we pray in the name of Jesus, who unites what is far off and what is near, and in whom, by grace and the working of your Holy Spirit, all things hold together. Amen.
Amen.
All right. So, here's how I want to do this. So introductions can be are necessary, actually, like Katherine is saying, I just kind of want to hear who's here and so on. And it helps Colin, who's going to be talking with us a bit, to know a bit of who you are. But on the other hand, they can take forever. And so I'm going to ask us to experiment with a method. In a single sentence.
Hey, Jerry, I think you froze for a second. So I think maybe if you could repeat the method.
Oh, okay. It says my connection is unstable. I'm going to stop my video for a second. All right. So yeah, I want us to do some introductions. And here's the method for doing so. To take 3 sentences, each of us, and only 3. So you can cram whatever you want into a single sentence. If you're German, you might be better at this than others. So your name and your role, sentence number 1, where you are, sentence number 2, and finish this sentence. I hope. That makes sense? So your name and your role, where you are, and finish the sentence. I hope. Got it, everyone? And then Jen, we're not going to be fair to you because since this is the first time for you, you can take as long as you want and tell us whatever you want about yourself. So you don't have to
Fair
follow
enough.
those.
I just
You don't have to follow those
asked
rules.
not to go first.
Okay, yep, you can go last, and then you can take what time you need. So I'll go first. My name is Jerry Kappel, a priest in the Diocese of Kentucky. My place is in Louisville, Kentucky. I hope for a deep conversion among the church. Okay. Katherine, how about you?
Thanks, Jerry. My name is Katherine Duffy. I am the convener of the Christian Care Network of Province 5 and happy to be Jerry's counterpart as he's the convener of Province 4. And also the co-chair of the Christian Care and Environmental Justice Task Force in the Diocese of Southern Ohio. I am in Columbus, Ohio, where I live. I hope that this time today and all the time that we spend together month to month is useful and fruitful for you all in your Christian care ministries. And I will invite Colin.
All right, thanks, Katherine. I see a few familiar faces, but there's Jane and I see Deacon Joey, and many of you will have received an email from me. But here I am, Colin Cornell. I am the coordinator of the Center for Religion and Environment at the University of the South, aka Sewanee. I am right now in the Fort Wood neighborhood of Chattanooga. And I hope that God calls and empowers leaders of the church with a really deep and an unflinching vision of discipleship. I am going to call Christopher Beasley.
Thank you, Colin. My name is Christopher Beasley. I am the rector at St. Peter's Episcopal Church, which is in the Diocese of Indianapolis. I live in Brownsburg, which is about 20 miles northwest of Indianapolis. And my hope is that we get some rain very soon because it's been abnormally dry and it's a lot to water all the crops that we have at our gardens. And so we need some rain. So I will invite
Christopher.
Yeah.
I saw all the rain go north of us. I thought you guys got killed up there.
It stayed south of 70. So, 70 is that magical dividing line through Indiana for some reason.
So interesting, Christopher, because we're due east of you and we have gotten hammered this summer.
So since July 18th, we've had at the church, we've measured 0.8 of an inch of rain. And at my home, we've measured about 0.6 of an inch.
Oh. Wow. Yeah. Wow. Anyway, sorry for that. Breaking the
More than 3 sentences. Thank you.
Yeah, I'll invite Jane.
Jane Stenson. I am in Trinity Episcopal in Mineral Point, Wisconsin, Diocese of Milwaukee. Let's see, what's it? What I hope for. Actually, Greg Schneider and I, mostly Greg, have put forth a resolution at our convention, which is coming up in October, to actually have a creation care committee in the Diocese of Milwaukee. I hope for that. Oh, I have to call on someone. Sorry. Wait, I can't see the names. Well, Deacon Joey, I know, is there. Okay.
Good morning. Deacon Joey Clavijo, diocesan deacon in the Episcopal Diocese of Louisiana. and I chair the Bishop's Environmental Commission for our diocese. So I'm coming to you this morning from Dallas, Texas, where my wife and our 3 dogs evacuated last week. So we're still in Dallas, Texas, wonderful community here. My hope is for our consciousness to be aware of God's presence as we are reordering ourselves in our diocese. We've come through a great moment of disorder in the hurricane last weekend, and God's presence be with us in the reordering of our diocese, and also that we become aware and of the importance of creation care and what we can do in order to live as one with creation and the environment. So there you have it. Let's see who I can call on. Beth Kunkel.
Hello, I'm Beth Kunkel. I'm in Clemson, South Carolina. We have a football team. And I hope that we all come to the realization of the importance of creation care. And I would also ask your prayers for us as we are in the final stages of selecting a new bishop.
Yes. You want to call on someone?
I'll call on Leela.
Good morning. My name is Lella Lowe, and I am in Mobile, Alabama, in the Diocese of the Central Gulf Coast. And let's see, my hope is that our faith-based efforts for climate change for creation care will change enough hearts and minds in time.
Thank you.
And I call on Susan.
Hi, I'm Susan Adams. I am a layperson at St. Paul's, Beloit, Wisconsin, in the Diocese of
Milwaukee.
Milwaukee. Yeah, and my hope is the same as Jane's, that we can get a committee even going for the creation. Did Carl Siegel go already? Thanks, Jane.
Thank you. Carl Siegel. I lead the Environmental Stewardship Committee at Church of the Nativity, which is where I live in Raleigh, North Carolina. My hope is that the world can come together at this critical time of addressing the climate emergency, and we can have a successful COP26 meeting in the next couple months. And I will call on Pam.
Good morning. My name is Pamela Harris. I am a member of the Creation Care Commission of the Diocese of Northern Indiana and the sole member of the Creation Care Committee for my parish of St. Andrews in Valparaiso, Indiana. My hope is that we humans can find ways to fix what we've done that doesn't make things worse.
Yeah.
And let's see, who hasn't been?
I think it's Greg and Jim, I believe. And
I'll call on Jim.
I am Jim Mogensen. I'm a layperson at St. Aidan's Episcopal Church in Ann Arbor, Michigan. So lay-led congregation. I also go to St. Andrews, which is the big downtown church in Ann Arbor. And I'm active at the diocesan level with a group called Covenant 5, which is the Fifth Baptismal Covenant. So that covers a whole bunch of things, including creation care, but we try to get things done at the diocesan level. Already said I'm in Ann Arbor, Michigan. And I hope we can get some things going to minimize the impact that we have on creation, so that the flooding that happened in the community where I grew up in New Jersey, and the president is coming sometime this week, I think maybe Tuesday, doesn't happen again. So, thank you. And I guess Greg.
Deacon Greg Schneider from St. Paul's Episcopal Church in Beloit, the Diocese of Milwaukee. I am leading the Creation Care Task Force for the church, which we are just forming, and beginning the study using the curriculum that we are in the process of developing. Province 4 and 5 is. My hope is that throughout the world, people use this season of creation to reconnect with God's creation and to see the need to make changes in the world and lead the way to do that.
Thank you. Well said. All right. Is that everyone except Jen? Yes. So Jen, the floor is yours. Tell us about yourself.
Well, hi, everybody. I'm Jen Romanizat-Cant. I am a parishioner out of St. Matthias Church in Waukesha. So that's David Simmons is our rector there, close to all you Milwaukee folks, for folks who don't know where Waukesha, Wisconsin is. I am here because I received an email by getting on some sort of list at some point from Katherine. And I'm about to go into my second and final planned maternity leave. So I have a little extra time coming up on the table here. And creation care is something that's been very close to my heart for a long time. I was involved during undergrad in a couple different movements, particularly Restoring Eden, which is a interfaith effort, but was headed up by a man named Peter Illian. That was largely targeting collegiate campuses in the early 2000s. I did a lot of work with them with storytelling and lobbying around coal mining in West Virginia, particularly, as well as ANWR drilling in the Arctic. And one of the things that always appealed to me about the way he approached it and approached creation care was, all of these creation issues can really come to being about people as well. And that can be a really good argument if you're trying to argue the case to someone of, you get rid of the caribou, what about all those people who rely on the caribou? So it's not just deifying the earth. It's not, we're accidentally making the earth God or something like that, which is, obviously a point a lot of people, oh, we don't want to worship the earth. Well, we're not, we're worshiping God. And we have to care for his creation and for his people. And that can often be, a pretty tangible argument. But I hope to, I'm just going to lurk. I'm going to listen here, hear what you guys are about. Sounds like there's some stuff going on in the Milwaukee area that I could possibly get plugged in with, talk to Jane and the rest of you folks. But just really trying to figure out, is there something I can do? Is there a way I can be of assistance in these efforts or get plugged in and help on some of these efforts with the capacity of what my life allows at the moment? And I just want to hear, what is going around in the country and the various dioceses and things like that, and how are we attacking this very tangible issue as the time is ripe, right? And has been for a long time, which we all know, but perhaps there are people who are willing to listen a little bit differently right now. So my hope is for hearts to be open that were not open before, and for us all to be able to be communicators and beacons of hope for those who are looking for it, so we can see tangible change.
Thanks.
I'm happy to any other questions or anything I missed, throw them at me.
Righto. And then there's three of you who had just joined or just let in, and so what we're doing is we're doing a brief introductions of ourselves to each other in 3 sentences. Sentence number 1 is who you are and kind of what your roles are. Sentence number 2 is where you are. And sentence number 3 is to finish this sentence, I hope. So that's 3 sentences, no more, no less. Just to give us all a feel for those things, who you are, where you are, and what do you hope in 3 sentences. So I believe, Katherine, Toby, you are one of those. Is that true? Hi there. You just muted yourself.
Good morning, everybody. I'm so glad to be here. I'm Toby Hannah Davies, and I am active in our local Kalamazoo, Michigan Hope for Creation network that's interfaith. And I'm the representative from St. Luke's Kalamazoo, St. Luke's Episcopal, to that local interfaith work, which is also the Southwest Michigan chapter of Michigan Interfaith Power and Light, which is a great pun. And it sounds like a power company, but it's our kind of power and our kind of light. And it's a national effort. So if you don't know about it, you might want to check it out. I hope to help my own parish and my own diocese and my own province reach more parishioners all over with actions that we can take. Thank you.
Thank you. And do you know Joan Hawkshurst?
Yes, of course. She is.
Of course you do.
Coordinator.
She is my sister-in-law. So.
Oh, so nice to see you, brother-in-law of Joan Hawkshurst. Excellent.
Thanks. Yep. So Ann Lamb, you were one?
My name is Ann Lamb. I currently, I guess I could say I just live in Knoxville, Tennessee, although because we've been here for almost 30 years now. I have been involved with environmental activities since I joined the Ecology Center in Berkeley in 1964. I'm focusing a lot on gardening and activities as a master gardener and other organizations. One of the things that originally connected us with Church of the Ascension in Knoxville was that it had an environmental ministry that has undergone many changes for probably 10 years through some rapid changes of clergy. It has been inactive. It simply lacks leadership. I'm old enough and I'm still working pretty much full time because I don't have as much stamina or as much time to devote to anything. I'm very hope we're on our interim at the moment. And I'm hoping that as the justice ministries have risen up from the congregation, that creation care would come back into focus. A multi-parish version had just organized itself before COVID came. And that, both for our business and and our environmental connectedness, that has put pretty much pause on activities.
Yeah.
But I hope for my parish that it will find active people once we've climbed out of this interim period.
Yeah, us and many. Thank you. And Deacon Greg, is that true? That's the no.
I missed the comment, sorry.
Oh, who's left? I'm trying to remember who.
Just
there we go. Oh, Elliot, that's it. I knew it's you guys you're right next to each other. No,
I'm Elliot Bush and I need a new computer. Believe it or not, it took me 20 minutes on this creaky old computer to be able to log on here. I'm at St. Stephen's Episcopal Church in Columbus, Ohio. And at the moment, I am the kind of congregational gadfly about environmental issues. because the nice committee that I had formed dissolved over COVID. And in fact, a couple of people who were on it are no longer going to be with us in the congregation. But I hope that this new book study that I'm leading during the season of creation on the book by a British couple named Hodson called A Christian Guide to Environmental Issues, where I've got 10 people participating, some of them new to the church. I'm hoping that by the end of that study, I'll be able to say, hey, wouldn't you like to go on and keep doing this? The other thing that's going on is that I've been a big follower of Bill McKibben's Climate Crisis newsletter, and he's just decided to start writing it and go back into activism because of he feels that we really need to counter big oils and big gases, lies and influence. And so I think I will follow Bill into greater activism. I found that he did recommend in that last column a group called, what is it, Elder Activists for the Environment or something like that. I've got it down, and he's going to try and start a group for boomers and silence. I'm a silent. I've never been that silent. I don't know. But that's so I'm hoping to be able to do something along that line through one of those organizations.
All right, very good. Thank you. So we're not bad. We're at half past the hour. So Colin, that gives you about that. So yeah, Colin has introduced himself. Colin Cornell will be now leading us in a conversation. And Colin wears many hats, but one of them is a professor of a lot of biblical languages, I believe, more than one, and a biblical studies. And he is one of the teachers of coursework for the Center for Religion and Environment at the University of the South. He has a title, Associate Professor of God or something. I can't quite remember what that is. But maybe
no, come on, Colin, that's not really your title.
And so on. So anyway, welcome, Colin. Thank you for taking the time to join us today. And the floor is yours.
Thanks so much, Jerry. And yeah, I'm really grateful to be with all of you. And I was thinking about just how to respond to what we've all shared just now about where we are, what we're doing, what we're hoping for. And I'm impressed by two things. One, that we are a very hopeful crew here. And in fact, that all of us are in various ways in motion already towards those things for which we hope. And so I'm just really thankful for the work that each of you is already doing and for your expressions of hope. I also heard in and among all that hope, a good deal of concern, even anxiety about the intensifying crises caused by a changing climate. And so I'm just holding that in my awareness too. The hopefulness, the work that y'all are putting in, and then this sense of impending, deepening crisis. And my own story, just by way of a slightly more expanded introduction, has several of those threads in it. I tell students at Sewanee, I grew up on the same plateau, and it is in fact true. I grew up in Western New York, actually. I know that there's a lot of Michiganders and Ohioans in the mix here. So kind of a neighbor to you all, I suppose. But the end result of that is I grew up close to the land. My family, very rural place. And that means for me that the kind of work that we're doing here, that we're pursuing, isn't only a consequence of worry and anxiety and loss, but is also because I grew up in a way that I love the earth and the creatures of earth. My parents do farming. I grew up doing farm work. So it comes from that kind of place for me, way back, not only sort of the crisis, but something deeper, a real sense of closeness and kinship even with earth. And then Jerry mentioned the Bible part of who I am, and that is significant. I did my PhD at Emory University in Hebrew Bible, completed that in 2018. And that's because Hebrew scripture is, relative to the New Testament, far earthier, far more political, far messier, and in all those ways, I think, more promising in certain regards for us in our practice of discipleship and just sort of our spiritual life. We need something earthy. We need sort of inspiration that addresses us sort of alongside other creatures. And the Old Testament certainly answers to that. So, and I've taught Old Testament and biblical languages at Sewanee. So that's another part of who I am. And then lastly, in terms of y'all express sort of a sense of some of the worry and crisis and concern about climate change. And that really has been a key part of attracting me to the kind of work and ministry that we here are involved with. But I'll also say that while I was a PhD student, I was very involved actually with organizing for racial justice. I was in Atlanta. It was 2016. So sort of grassroots racial justice organizing was really my sort of first activist involvement. And I say that because my sense is in the Episcopal world is that a lot of dioceses, a lot of churches are feeling like they have to sort of choose between prioritizing work for racial reconciliation, racial justice, or prioritizing season of creation, work on behalf of earth, sort of greening, retrofitting, et cetera, their sort of parish life. And in my own self, those have been always very deeply interconnected. And so part of what I'll say in a moment, and we might talk about, is just how that choice, there's a certain kind of tactical prudence to it in terms of what churches and people sort of put at the forefront, but that I don't think it's a real choice, that the crisis of climate is really at its roots of a piece with crises around racial justice in our country. And my own experience very much bears that out. So that's just a few pieces about me, what I'm doing now, the Bible part, both the kind of love for creation and also concern for climate. And I'll say too, relative, just generationally, my sense is the sense of desperation about climate change increases as people are younger. So that even after me, the age cohort, Zoomers, I'm a millennial, Zoomers after me are even more in dread of climate change than I am, and then that my cohort is. So very keenly aware of that too. So that's a little bit more about me. I want to say a few things now just about the Center for Religion and Environment, what we're up to, and perhaps how that can connect with some of the work that you each are pursuing. And again, some of this will be repeat, particularly I'm thinking of Jane, who actually took the course this summer that the center offered, but some of the rest of y'all who've seen emails and so on as well. The Center for Religion and Environment at Sewanee. You will have seen the emails, and what its mission really is. I want to just put this word in front of you. This is actually Katherine Duffy's vocabulary sort of discernment and choice. So thanks for this one, Katherine. But is cultivator. Yeah. Cultivator is what the center does relative to churches, to just Christian communities. And that there's a lot that's sort of packed into that particular word. It means that what the center does isn't just kind of an academic think tank. We're not only trying to talk to and deliberate with academics, actually not even really trying to do that primarily at all. We're not trying to transfer information. We're not trying to only kind of lay out practical advice for how to form green ministries and climate teams and so on. What's really essential to our vision of what we're doing at the center is cultivation, growing, forming, nourishing Christians in their practice of Christian faith. That what we're trying to do is to equip and really deepen people in their sense of, in their practice of, and their vision for discipleship, for Christian life. And that too is significant because I'm sure you all have run into this in the course of your ministries, but there's a way in which ecological concern and activism can be very siloed. It's kind of a niche thing. You know, some Christians over there are really bent out of shape about climate change. The rest of us kind of carry on more or less as we have. And maybe we're happy that somebody over there is worrying about this because my kids or grandkids are worried about it. So I'm glad someone cares. But this is something that's sort of a sidecar to sort of the real essential Christian faith. So what we at the center are really trying to push back against is just that, is the sort of siloing, the niche quality of environmental activism, and instead trying to cultivate, to build ecological interest, concern deeply into the essentials of Christian faith. So cultivating disciples is not a different thing from sort of mobilizing environmental activists. This is just sort of one thing, one task of formation in our vision. And the practical kind of upshot of that, the center being a cultivator, that's the one word I want to put before you. The second word is this. The practical upshot is what we do is eco-catechesis. Eco-catechesis. The center offers tools, resources for forming Christians. Catechesis, basic instruction, but in a way that really integrates in an environmental vision and concern, that we are creatures alongside other creatures, mutually responsible to them, for them, and so on. So that eco-catechesis mission of the center means that the offerings, the courses, the webinars that we do often have this character of revisiting classical catechetical resources. So, like, for example, the class that Jane took this past summer was titled Greening the Creed. Greening the Creed. That is thinking, talking, working with the Apostles' Creed, that basic kind of repository of Christian belief, and discerning how in each of its parts, not just the creation part, not just sort of, the maker of heaven and earth, but in all of it, how it positions humans alongside the whole rest of the earth community. And so that an environmental commitment is built in, it's already baked in to every article, every part of that essential Christian formational tool, the Apostles' Creed. So eco-catechesis, again, we play that out with the center by dedicating attention, by offering classes on basic Christian resources like the Creed, like the Bible, thinking about the story of the Transfiguration. That's a webinar that's coming up later this month. And then by sort of filling in those basic Christian resources with seeing how they are already sort of in motion. They're already activated for ecological concern, ecological discipleship. So that's my sort of nutshell overview of what the center is and does. Is it's a cultivator, and what that practically plays out is that we do eco-catechesis. And so my role as the coordinator for the center is to reach out to folks like yourselves, and hence probably some of you have received an email or two from me, folks like yourselves, to see how the center can partner with Christians who are already on the ground, already sort of in the trenches of doing this work, to equip and to resource, to help you in the work of cultivation, and to integrate what we feel here are pressing ecological concerns, and also just sort of integral to Christian discipleship, how we can expand more into sort of just regular parish life, not just to have the green team, not just to have, you know, sort of the special dedicated people, but for all of us to be sort of united in this purpose as Christians, just as simple as mere Christians, as it were. So, like I say, that's what the center is and does, our mission. And my job as coordinator is to partner with folks like yourselves to see how we might assist. We are, Jerry stuck in the chat just now, and I'll actually just share my screen. Oh, I can't share my screen, but anyway, if you visit that web link, that's sort of the repertoire that we have already on the docket for this fall. A couple of the classes, obviously, that took place in August are now past, but in September, we'll be offering a class. Living in an Icon is being led by Robin Gottfried, who's the director of the center. And that's a course that is oriented towards contemplation. So I forget who mentioned it. Maybe it was Deacon
Catherine,
Greg.
can you give him permission to share that screen? Would that help? Sorry about that, Colin, but that.
No, you're good.
We can fix that.
Oh, please.
Here we go. I think this is working now.
Yeah, that should work.
Let's see. So here is Living in an Icon. This is the registration page for this class that's coming up very soon in September. What this answers to, I think it might have been Deacon Greg, but pardon me, I forget who said, but just about sort of connecting with Earth, with nature, is really important for what we're doing here. It's not just kind of springing into action and working to sort of save and conserve and protect Earth, its creatures, our neighbors, our kindred, but also continuing to deepen in our connection with Earth. And so Robin is offering this course online that's about really nature contemplation as a basic Christian practice. That's coming up in September. The other one that's also coming up in September is a free webinar. And this one, can you all see me navigating through here?
Yep.
This one is being led by John Gatta, who's an emeritus English prof at the University of the South. And he's done a lot of work on the Transfiguration as kind of a key witness to just a vision of transformation that's very significant for Christian life and practice, and has all kinds of ecological dimension as well. So this will be a free webinar on Thursday, September 16th. And so that's coming up. And in addition to these offerings, we have other ones further on down the line from September. In October and November, we'll have other webinars. The titles are here online. And then also other classes. This Greening the Creed class that I piloted over the summer, and Jane can speak to that one. Be offering it again in November on some Tuesday nights in November. And then John Gatta, again, will be teaching a class on kind of an entire ecological vision. So that will also be really a wonderful resource and class. And this is not exhaustive. This is just sort of our fall repertoire. I'll be teaching at a church in September, a class called Greening the Bible. And that's in 4 sessions where we'll recover kind of the scriptures visions, larger visions for kind of how just significant integral animals and non-animal persons are, and then also to touch on so-called texts of terror, the well-known texts that have truly inspired a lot of harmful practices down through the centuries, the Dominion texts and so on. So that's just kind of more logistical, more itemized sort of example of what the center is up to this fall. I'm going to stop share now. Here we are. So I suppose I welcome your questions about any of that. I should also say, before entertaining questions, that in addition to those instances of eco-catechesis, those classes that I just showed, the center also is sort of trying to get involved with doing work around consulting. And that is trying to offer time, really, to parishes, to dioceses, about how to organize eco-ministries, how to integrate nature contemplation into the regular functions of church life, even how maybe to retool worship spaces. So kind of in addition to the regular sort of streamlined class and webinar offerings, also trying to do some consulting work. So I welcome your questions. Again, thankful just to be in front of you all for this, these minutes.
So, right, so that we have about 10 minutes. I'm trying to start my video. There we are. I've been having a little bit of bandwidth problems here, so I keep dropping off. So anyway, so what do you think? I mean, questions for Colin, questions about content, questions about needs, questions about whether this resonates, whether it's befuddling and falls with a thud. Anything you guys want to ask? Go ahead, Joey.
Yeah, first of all, Colin, thank you. I wish I would have understood cultivator and eco-catechesis before I sent in my request to my bishop, but trust me, I will follow up on that right now, because it really puts a handle on what we're doing here. So thank you very much for that. And I guess a question I would have for the entire group possibly is this question, not question, but the reality of how much in the midst of climate change and everything going on, how our attention seems to be going off of that as we're trying to solve problems. I mean, here I am in the Diocese of Louisiana, and you know, how to keep my pulse and my you know, all of the church's pulse on this while we're trying to come out of this, you know, trying to reorganize and reorient ourselves. And I don't know that there's an answer to that, except on keep on doing what we're keep on doing, you know, and call for. But anyway, thank you for putting a good wrapper on CRE for me. Thank you.
And just to give context to that comment first, what Joey's doing is proposing to his bishop a sort of year-long consulting relationship with the center to flesh out what a sort of a creation care, not program, I think a creation care catechesis and development of faith formation might look like in that diocese. And that's one of the things, right? If we could get into dioceses and help them as dioceses to decide what kind of formation would work, you know, what transformational things can we do? And that's the context of his comment, to say, I wish I had those words when I proposed to the bishop. All right, I see Katherine is organizing our question sequence here in chat. So Jane, you are next.
I don't have a question. The course, of course, for me was wonderful. I loved it. But I want to say about the course is that the people that signed up for the course, many were clergy, many were lay people. That interchange of ideas, the relationship between the people at various stages in their journeys. And I certainly am a lay person. I will always be. And, there's some places where I have depth and some places where I don't. All of that comes into play within the course that Colin taught. And as a result of that, the dialogue that happened, a Lutheran minister, for example, at the end of the course, having had a very similar experience to me, said, "Oh, I just wish all of you were in my parish." And our response was, we are in your parish. So, I certainly recommend it as foundational for going forward. Deacon Joey, I recommend the course as foundational for where you're going because it puts a frame on every situation that you will encounter and things that you don't even know that you are going to encounter enough.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Fine
Jane.
testimony.
It really was a wonderful community that we had in the class. Yep. And I want to say too, just real briefly, to Deacon Joey's sort of sense of how do we balance? Because this is going to be our situation going forward. Is how do we respond to the crises, the actual real life? My church is flooded. And then this kind of discipleship, zooming way out, forming people and toggling between these. This is our life from here on out. Yep. And so our temptation is going to be to sort of, the tyranny of the urgent and sort of just dedicating ourselves to kind of the church is flooded or whatever, our neighborhood is in crisis and disarray. But to sort of not lose sight of that we can't only be putting out fires or, sort of bailing out basements. That is integral, but also that it behooves us to think about how we arrived here, and we're not going to have a sort of really long-term fix without really deeply rethinking the ways that the warped practices that got us into these massive escalating crises.
Mm-hmm. Excellent. All right, Elliot, you're next.
Yes. One of the things that really struck me in Jerry's presentation last month was the charts that he did about light green faith to dark green faith, and particularly the chart that he did on liturgy. And I tried to explain this to my son, the priest, who is very well. I didn't have to just try and explain it. I just told him about it, and I shared the slide. Jerry was nice enough to give me those, let me use those charts with my class that I just started, and Carl's in the class. So he saw that stuff and he said, "Wow, we need to redo the liturgy starting with St. Francis Day." And I think he may be getting ahead of himself there, but what resources are there available for within the Episcopal within the Episcopal context, which I'm not, I mean, still a United Methodist because that's how I get my pension. But so I know if I were a United Methodist, no problem. I can write my own liturgy all I want to. Nobody from the bishop on down is going to complain about that. But I know there's more constraints within the Episcopal tradition. So I'm just wondering what kind of resources are out there for being able to properly do that.
Right. Great question. I mean, I do this stuff all the time, so I'm hesitating to answer to see if Colin or anybody else wants to jump in.
I was actually personally just gonna, oh, sorry, Susan.
I was just gonna say, Greg in our church did it.
I think you did it by cheating a little bit, though. But not true.
I don't know. Greg.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
It's like got serious holiday energy going on here.
We took a number of different resources and pulled pieces out of them in order to put a liturgy together.
Oh, you did?
So we used, part of the season of creation work and used part of that. We used the new book of occasional services has a whole section on creation. We use pieces out of that. And so we looked at that and a couple other resources in order to change the focus of the entire liturgy is on creation from beginning to end.
Oh, okay, could you put your email for me in the sidebar, and maybe I can ask Carl to get in touch with you?
Sure.
And if you don't mind, Jim, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but I know that you had just mentioned that you also incorporated some creation-based ministry into the season of creation. So if you might not mind mentioning how what you included and how you determined that'd be maybe helpful for Elliot.
Well, yeah, no, we were, so I was struggling because the small parish that I'm part of has environmental ministry as part of its spring, and we weren't able to do Earth Day. So being part of this network in a quick way alerted me to the season of creation early on. And so we were able, and so it's a smaller parish, and we just incorporated all of that liturgical help into our joint. We have a combined service with Presbyterians, so we were just able to do that. My wife was kind of, it's complicated. It's a lay-led thing, but we had all of that stuff up there, and we were able to shift and just do that. And then we had an educational program, but so it really helped us when we were kind of struggle to figure out what to do. And now we're still struggling because of the pandemic stuff as we're trying to figure out how to be in our space.
Yeah, and so we're at our pretty much, we want a couple minutes. So, and Elliot, my quick answer about that is those of us who are more constrained on Sunday mornings are more constrained than anything else.
Yep.
You have to look for every possible word called may and other, and there's quite a bit in there. You can actually you can work it out. And then prayers of the people is low-hanging fruit. There's nothing stopping you from being very creation-centric, or not centric. I don't like that word. Creation inclusive in prayers of the people. This Sunday we invited the church to bring plants, potted plants, which we put up at the rail. There's just ways of just slipping all this stuff in to make it noticeable and palatable without violating any of the rubrics. So you fudge every corner you can, and then if you can get away with cheating, go ahead. But anyway, all right. So enough of that. Katherine, you want to finish this out?
Yes, thank you. Two quick things. One, I did drop a link to the most recent book of vocational services into the chat. Elliot, I just Googled. I mean, it's a resource available to us, but with the 2018 update, they did add quite a bit more related to creation care. So that is there. And then the last thing, many of you know this, you probably all know this, that the theme for the United Thank offering for 2022 is creation care. And what that means is all the UTO grants that will be given out for next year are going to be creation focused. If that strikes a chord with you, there is a webinar on September 21st, and give me 1 second and I will, I'm like one of those 800 open tabs. So let me just find this tab for the webinar on September 21st. And thank you, Heather, where they'll be going over the grant criteria, how to apply, what projects might be available for applicants and so on. So if that, yes, thank you. And Heather just put
she put that to you, I think, because I didn't
see
it.
That's just to me. Thank you, Heather. You're right, you did just send it to me. Hold on, let me see if I can get that out and send that just to everybody. So yes, if you have any interest in learning more about the UTO grant cycle upcoming for creation focused grants, I just put 2 links in there. One is the Province 5 page that has information about the grant. The second one is linked to the Zoom to register for the 21st. So come learn, see what strikes you, see what might be available to facilitate, funding some of these ministries that we're working really hard on. So that is it.
That's it.
Yes.
Right.
Wow. Please work with other people in your diocese, says Heather. Yes, of course. Because I think only one application is available per diocese.
That's
but I'm
right. It's one
thinking
per
about-
diocese. So yeah.
Regardless, it's a time to learn. And so if you have questions about the grant and what, how to apply and what the application restrictions might be, just go to the webinar and they'll be able to answer all the questions for you.
And also about the courses and stuff in the center, some of these things have charges on them because we actually do need income, but we also have granted scholarshiping. So don't let the money stand in your way. So saying that, go ahead.
I was just going to thank everybody. So saying that, thank you for
Yes,
taking time out of your holiday to spend it with us. It's wonderful as usual to see your faces. Such a joy. Jerry,
Colin, thank you.
Colin, Jerry, can you guys hang on for a sec after we wrap?
Can do.
Thank you.
And for the rest of you, let's continue this conversation and working action together. An hour sparks it, but the real work continues. So thank you all.
Thank you, everybody. Have a wonderful day, month. Good night, Jen.
Peace, everyone.
So, oops, let me stop this recording too. Are you sure you want to stop recording?